Well, we've been covering today's wintry mix of snow and rain all morning, and now Mayor de Blasio is in Brooklyn giving an update on how the city is preparing for the oncoming storms this season. Let's take a listen in as he speaks from the Office of Emergency Management.
But for now, what we have is a lot of rain that later on in the afternoon will turn to snow. And unfortunately, that will probably correlate to the rush hour. So the first thing I want to say to folks is, if you don't need to be in your car later on, if you can avoid driving or if you can take mass transit, please do, because it's going to be a really sloppy rush hour this evening. Want to make sure everyone knows that for today, alternate side parking is canceled. So hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier for drivers in terms of where they keep their cars. Now, what we have heard from the National Weather Service so far, we expect another update shortly, but right now, the snow will start later on this afternoon. The initial expectation is 2 to 4 inches. You're talking about the city as a whole, but I do want to note there is a projection now for certain parts of the city, particularly the more northern parts of the city, of up to 5 to 8 inches. And again, as we have learned with previous storms, they can come faster and they can be larger than originally projected. So the fact that we've got 5 to 8 inches projected for some parts of the city should, make everyone quite aware that number could go up and could go up quickly. Of course, we are prepared, and the sanitation department always leads the way. They have 705 salt spreaders deployed and 1,500 plows ready to start their work once there is enough snow accumulation. Now, we, again, anticipate that anything can happen with a storm, so we've been doing a lot to lay a foundation to get ready. Sanitation Department has already spread liquid brine on the highway ramps in advance. This is an area where we've had some problems in the past, so we're taking additional proactive steps to make sure those highway ramps are usable. Also, a number of changes have taken place since last winter as a result of things we learned. For one thing, Office of Emergency Management has hired a meteorologist of its own to work directly with the National Weather Service. Even a small improvement in the forecasting helps us a lot. If we can hone exactly where a problem is going to be, exactly how many inches of snow or the exact time, even being able to know it'll come an hour earlier, an hour later can change how we approach it. So having that meteorologist is going to help a lot. Agencies are also communicating a lot more. We found 6 years ago a lot of agencies didn't work together. We've been working steadily to improve that. One of the simple things we're doing is making sure that every agency talks together, all together, every 30 minutes during a storm situation to constantly make adjustments and improvements to our plan. And we've tripled the number of weather monitoring devices around the city so we can have a much more accurate and immediate sense of what's happening. Also, one of the things we learned from past storms is that our sanitation plows need, of course, to get where the need is greatest, and sometimes they can't do that alone. So from now on, the NYPD will be escorting sanitation plows when necessary to get them through. If there is a traffic jam up and we need the plows to get to where the problem is greatest, NYPD is going to lead the way. Also, another thing that's important during storms, but important all the time for parents, the Department of Education has now installed GPS tracking on all of our school buses, and parents can therefore always find out what's happening with their child. And I want to remind parents that the number you can call whenever you need to check in real time for the location of your child's school bus, that number is 718-392-8855. Again, 718-392-8855. So, update on schools that right now, of course, school is open today. Everything's moving smoothly. We anticipate school being open tomorrow. We're going to obviously watch the storm closely into the evening. If anything changes, we'll certainly alert the people of the city, but right now assume school is open tomorrow. One thing that is different will be certain after-school programs today, a small number of them that rely on school buses, those will be closed. But normal school bus service will be running for sure. Now, we expect temperatures to get colder tonight, and therefore our code blue is in effect to help anyone vulnerable or homeless. If you see someone in need, please call 311. And as always, check on your neighbors, check on anybody who might need help, anyone who's disabled. Help out our seniors if they need any help with shoveling. Please do what you can to help them. Look out for each other. That is the spirit of the holiday season, and that's the spirit that New Yorkers bring to every challenge. We're going to get an update in a moment from OEM Commissioner Criswell and Sanitation Commissioner Garcia, but just first a few words in Spanish. Esperamos hasta 4 pulgadas de nieve hoy comenzando esta tarde. La ciudad está preparada para esta y cualquier tormenta. Llame al 311 si necesita ayuda. With that, I want to turn to Commissioner Deanne Criswell, who will give us the latest what she and her team are hearing from the National Weather Service.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. And as the mayor said, you are seeing rain now that is going to transition into a sleet, slushy mixture later this afternoon and turning into snow during that evening commute home. Our message out to New Yorkers is that we really urge you to stay off the roads if possible, use mass transit. We want to alleviate any of the congestion that we might see in that afternoon commute. According to the latest Weather Service forecast, the rain may continue into the afternoon, but it will taper off by daybreak on Tuesday. What we are doing here at the city to prepare for that is we have issued a travel advisory for today. Travel conditions are going to be messy, and again, public transportation is your best option. We are going to stay in close communication with the National Weather Service throughout the day, as well as with our new meteorologist. Our next update is at 11 a.m. We have surged our staffing here in our watch command, as well as we have staffed our emergency operations center so that we can rapidly coordinate any resources that are needed if conditions do worsen. We have been conducting daily weather calls, and we will continue to communicate with our city agencies and partner agencies to make sure that we are bringing all necessary resources to the residents of New York as needed. And I can't say it enough, the advice for today is to stay off the roads if you can stay off the roads, and use mass transit as much as you can. And as always, make sure that you're checking in on your neighbors and your loved ones to see if there's anything that you can do to help them out. Thank you.
Thank you. Sanitation Commissioner Catherine Garcia.
Good morning, everyone, and I hope everyone had a good holiday. As the mayor mentioned, we have 705 spreaders out. We have been pre-salting, so we should have a nice coating on before we begin to see the icy conditions, which will then convert to snow conditions. We will then deploy the 1,500 plows. They will not start plowing until we are at 2 inches of snowfall, but we think that we also will see suppressed accumulations with the pre-salting. We split into 2 shifts, so we have over 2,600 sanitation workers on the day line. We will have another 2,300 coming in on the evening line. With that said, you can expect that there will be delays in collection. We did some of it last night, but leave the material out. We will be getting to it as soon as we are through with snow operations. As I remind everyone, as everyone else has, conditions are going to change very quickly as we move into the evening rush, and we anticipate seeing both ice and slush, as well as snowfall, which obviously could go up or down based on what happens with the freezing line. But I want to encourage every New Yorker to please use mass transit, and if they are driving, to just be slow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Let's take questions on the storm. Any questions? Dave?
I sense, and maybe it's because it's the first storm of the year, or this is a longer storm and we don't know how much exactly we're going to get in the city, but I sense a little bit of maybe anxiety, for lack of a better word here, about the storm. Maybe I'm wrong, but is there a sense of, like, we just don't know what this is going to do, this storm?
I would say it's hyper-focus. I think maybe a cousin to anxiety, but Dave, I think we have all learned to just expect the unexpected. I keep reminding everyone that we literally all together, a lot of you were all here earlier on a few years ago, when we had the largest blizzard in the history of New York City. I want to say, Catherine, 28 inches, 29 inches, something like that? 27.5, there you go. And that was literally the biggest snowstorm in 150 years. The first National Weather Service forecast on that storm was 8 inches. And that's not to put down the Weather Service. They do fantastic work. But the point is, Mother Nature makes her own decisions. So as we are ramping up for the snow season and sort of getting the rust off and getting ready to get back into snow action, we wanted to be in a state of intense readiness. We've also seen very sudden shifts sometimes, where a storm arrives hours earlier than predicted. And so I think what we've learned is expect the unexpected, get ready, get everything ready early. You know, if the worst problem you have is you were too ready and the snow didn't materialize, that's probably a good problem to have. Go ahead, Andrew.
Two questions. First, on the after-school, why would you cancel just the yellow bus after-school programs? Other after-school programs rely on vans and other forms of transportation. Why not be consistent on the approach to after-school?
I think if for the basic reason is, you know, you're talking about a lot of after-school is very local, first of all, where it's kids obviously right in the immediate community, where it's less of a challenge. And this is different than the regular school buses that tend to, you know, leave, give or take, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so ahead of when we expect the worst of the snow. I think we just thought these are larger vehicles during the time when the snow is supposed to be active. You know, losing the after-school for a day is obviously not that big a problem, but it's better safe than sorry.
Second question about the meteorologist that you guys hired. I did hear Commissioner Criswell talk about consulting with the National Weather Service. Are you not yet in a position where you're consulting with your own meteorologist? Or how do you coordinate the official forecast with your in-house forecast, and what if they differ?
You are asking an excellent question. Many scenarios there. I'll have Commissioner Criswell speak to it. I want to state the obvious. It's like anything else in life. Having your own expertise helps you to make better decisions. Look, I'll use a very, very different parallel. Long time ago, the NYPD made a very smart decision, decided we needed our own intelligence gathering, our own counterterrorism capacity. That proved to be a very smart decision. This is, thank God, a much milder dynamic. But having your own in-house expertise allows the ability to ask better questions, see trends, see small things that could turn into big things, especially issues like what is the exact timing of a storm. Commissioner, you want to speak to that further?
Yeah, it's a great question, and the National Weather Service is a really great partner, and they give us the official forecast. Our meteorologist is working directly with them, and they're really helping us operationalize that information, giving us more specifics and minute information about timing so we can make better decisions on when and how we can best deploy the resources in the city to meet those demands.
Okay, yes.
Right now you're seeing between 3 and 7 accumulation?
I think that the central forecast for the city remains 2 to 4, but the high end for the more northern parts of the city is now at 5 to 8. Again, we've all been down this road before. This could fluctuate a lot, but when I start to hear 5 to 8, I'm like, you know, buckle your seatbelts because you're never sure what's going to happen next. Juliet?
When will you think about school tomorrow?
Well, we'll be thinking about it from the end of the afternoon on. I mean, the snow right now, we're expecting to have hit around rush hour, unfortunately. But we got to see how much, we got to see how intense it is, how long we expect it to go. As you know, I was a public school parent. I know how much parents value getting the information as early as possible on the next day. So my message to parents right now is school is on tomorrow. Assume it's on. If we start to be concerned, we'll let people know that, you know, things might be changing. My goal is always to get the word out to parents during the evening hours so they can make their plans and adjustments. Sometimes we don't know until the very last moment, but we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to get to a firm yes or no by the end of the evening. Anna?
Last November, you guys had a storm that may not have been prepared enough for, and as a result, the OEM commissioner was forced out or resigned.
Well, that's not true, so continue. The first part we had, I'm going to just, let me interrupt the question if I may. We had a storm that was an absolute freak storm. There was no correlation between what was projected and what happened, and most importantly, you know, the busiest bridge in America went out, which is not something anyone foresaw. That said, we have definitely learned a lot of lessons. We've definitely seen things we could have done better then had we recognized that, so, you know, a 1 or 2 inch storm can suddenly turn into something much worse. We have made a lot of changes. What happened with the commissioner was an entirely different matter. Go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, you're saying to all the commissioners standing around you today, like, don't worry, whatever happens, I'm not gonna.
That's just not a realistic question. Go ahead.
2 questions. First, what advice do you have both for drivers and for Subway and Metro North and LNWR riders who are going to go home this afternoon? And second, what's going on at Rikers Island, the other city jails? There have been some reports that it's very cold there. Are there blankets being distributed? How's heat, et cetera?
On the first question, and I don't know who here can give the best answer on Rikers. I don't think we have a representative corrections here, so if someone else has that information, Commissioner Criswell or someone else step up in a second, or else we'll get it to you right away. On the commuters, look, I think that it's real common sense stuff. If you can take mass transit instead of driving, please do. If you can leave early instead of late, leave early. Expect things to be slow. Expect problems out there, and try and give yourself the time so you're not rushing, because the last thing we want people to do is be trying to rush through such a difficult situation. So just everyone realize this thing is unfortunately hitting right when you wouldn't want it to around rush hour. And again, could be much bigger than we're hearing right now, or could be smaller as well.
Does Commissioner Criswell know about the Rikers situation?
We're getting more information right now.
We'll get that to you in a few minutes.
Yeah, considering the 80 flooded homes in Queens, is there a special approach to that considering the storm?
We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Let's do that separately. Just say anything else on it, Dave.
Are you urging companies to go ahead and tell their employees, leave early?
Look, this one, as per usual, we've got an unclear situation. If I were running a company and looking at this forecast right now, I wouldn't be particularly in awe of it. But I would say to companies, certainly recognize if you can cut some slack to your employees, please do. And certainly don't keep people late, because we do expect it to get worse as the rush hour continues. So right now, Dave, this one is a little hard to call at this moment in the morning. What I would urge everyone to do is keep a close eye on the news throughout the afternoon. And if it starts picking up earlier or more intense, then that's a scenario for sure where I'd ask employers to be as lenient as possible. Any other questions on the weather situation? Going once, going twice. Okay, let me have Commissioner Sapienza.
And we have been watching Mayor de Blasio outline the steps the city is taking to brace for today's storm. The mayor says the initial snow expectation is for 2 to 4 inches for most of the city, but now there is a new projection of 5 to 8 inches for more northerly areas, and this storm is expected to hit hardest during the afternoon commute. And so officials say they have 705 salt spreaders out on the roads, and plows will be dispatched once 2 inches of snow has fallen. And the mayor says he expects schools will be open tomorrow, but is encouraging parents to check on after-school programs. Now, as for commuters, officials are encouraging people to use mass transit and avoid driving if at all possible. And also, alternate side parking is suspended today just to make it a little bit easier for drivers. And one last reminder to check on neighbors, especially older adults or people with disabilities who may need your help. And of course, you can keep track of the latest weather and updates live here on our stream and our website, cbsnewyork.com.